Konnichiwa, Roxette here, and today we will review Quinn and the Metropolis. I'm actually experiencing stiff neck at the moment, so my hair... I need to support my head like this. I'm not trying to be cute or anything. Anyway, today I would be reading my book review for Quinn and the Metropolis, the first book of the Metropolis series. It's a young adult fiction by my good friend Pillerva, and it has been published in Materica last year in paperback. It has 44 chapters and 284 pages. So, before anything, I've had this in ebook for the longest time. But it wasn't until my dear friend Ate Senpai, JAAYCHAAN, surprised me with the paperback as a gift. Footage insert somewhere.
Okay, look here. Hello! Here. Yeah, I'm serious.
Before things get too dramatic, let's get back to the video. Then I started reading the book. I told myself to only read one chapter a day, but as the story progressed, I ended up reading more and more chapters till I lost time to sleep. Oops. Prior to this, I've been reading the reviews to see what people had to say, and being the oddball that I am, it's pretty cool to say that I might have different insights as to how I experienced this novel. Just so you know, I'm not writing this review for any other reason than to express myself and show support to a good friend. Fun fact, I started out as JAAYCHAAN's fan when I saw her illustrations posted on Collegiate Mover. I will insert the link in the description box. Back when we were both part of the same college organization. And after that, I went on a hearting spree on her Facebook page, sending the cheesiest messages of how instantly obsessed I got with her art. Just because she's so good. And even her mom sorts of remember me in real life just because I've liked almost every single post she ever made. For starters, let's talk about design and production. For people who appreciate art like me, I enjoy the delicious pastel palette of the cover paired with a vintage anime-esque art form. If you watch Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon as a kid, the protagonist in a sailor school uniform will definitely hit you in the feels. More so, this YA fiction takes on an action fantasy route where our protagonist will be out to defeat monsters. The fonts used on the cover and chapter names Bellaboo make it feel like I'm about to read a young person's journal. People who consider their fonts as a part of design are my favorite type of people. Imagine people who just use Comic Sans on a formal presentation. Yeah? No. To prove my point, some part of the text has Japanese characters typed as if they were handwritten. They used Asobi Memogaki. Let's not forget the text itself, the cute serif font, Liber Baskerville, size 16 maybe, is perfect for my long-sighted eyes since it's not too small from afar nor too big up close. Thank you for not making the book too small nor too big at, size A5. Excellent. And for not wasting any spaces. Hardcovers are too fancy. This book is way more suitable in paperback, like it's made for everyone. Last props to the writer for adding in a glossary that is specific to this novel because some people can be vague with the jargons they use. Okie dokie, heading on to style, the story is told in first person by the protagonist herself, and you can notice this by the repetition of sentence format, making this more into a narrative point of view than an overall descriptive text. She has a semi-formal tone and internalized pessimism by the way she takes things a little bit too seriously. Or maybe she is highly self-conscious and aware, or the urban term for it is woke. This text is almost easy to read only because there are some words that may require a dictionary to understand, but I appreciate that in widening my vocabulary. I don't expect anybody to have perfect grammar, but there's always room for growth and improvement. The chapter names are very smart, especially those with reference to psychology terms. Also, the pacing is great and chapters end in a lot of cliffhangers. which sort of remind me of K-dramas where you look forward to the next episodes because you need to know what happens next. It's a definite plus that there are illustrations in this book, printed in quality ink and paper if I may add, to provide a scope for imagination as to how our characters look like. Enough about those, let's get on to the juicy analysis. I dived into this book without any assumptions and expectations on the storyline, but the back cover of the book felt a bit misleading because rereading it after I was done felt more confusing as opposed to making things clear. How is she a fugitive and what didn't she do? Were some questions that remained unanswered, at least for me, since I either tend to overanalyze or become oblivious to certain information. The only criticism I can give is the abundance of events that I can't figure out where the climax is, as if the book was a long establishment of setting the whole story into place. The logic felt a little muddled and requires some organization when it comes to the flow. For example, when in the beginning of some chapters, the protagonist seems to mention information that she would only find out much later into the story that is not mentioned in the book. So is this proof that the events of the novel has been long done? That the protagonist is just narrating the events in a distant future? This is effective in making me want to read the next book to know more because there are a lot of unanswered questions. But I just think that every book needs a standalone plot with its own course that eventually comes to some sort of resolution at the end. But if the writer's purpose is to evoke feelings of curiosity and frustration to the readers, then I must say that it's highly effective. The plot of this story is something fresh for me as someone who has read books and watched a lot of films. We have a sickly protagonist with an indie rock loving best friend turned potential love interest, wink wink. So we have hints of love polygons and unexpected relationships, both romantic and platonic. The female characters are strong, while the boys tend to be a bit more on the passive and subdued end of the spectrum. A recurring theme I noticed was the introduction of multiple cultures and capacity to learn languages, particularly Filipino, Japanese, and American. As a Filipino, it's easier to relate to the text more as to how these three countries shared a history together. Some elements of the story take lucid dreaming to another level that is almost prophetic. I appreciate the literary devices used to promote self-growth, such as jumping out of your comfort zone and living life to the fullest, because everything is a once-in-a-lifetime chance we shouldn't miss. A quote that made me cry, potential spoiler, warning, warning. Thank you for tonight. It was wonderful. As a writer myself, I can definitely relate to the struggles of wanting things to turn out a certain way but not sure as to how it could be done. Quinn in the Metropolis is definitely content that I've been looking for, with the whole mystery, mind games, and dark conscience involved. There's a lot of thinking involved because certain text foreshadows some things I would discover later to be true. I love a lot of Sherlock Holmes moment. You can't really say that this is completely sci-fi except for some obvious elements because the events can happen in real life too. There is a good balance of spine-tingling romance that doesn't devour the main plot as some other stories do. Now, I'm not sure whether this was deliberately done, but there's an element found in Japanese manga that I noticed was used in this novel, and that is the power of page turning. This is something that no audio and video can let you experience, as new information is revealed by the flip of the reader's hand. So it's solely the reader's decision, some sort of communication between the reader and the writer themselves. It just goes to show that artists are a lot like farmers. Their work takes a lot of time and effort, but all that labor will become fruitful and turn into something beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did writing it, and I also hope that all is well with you till next time.